So each member of the panel will have 2 or 3 minutes to conclude on this session. Well, we were talking about Jerusalem 2000 and then Jerusalem 2050. So what are the links between these two programmatic approaches? I'd like to know. Jerusalem 2000, I believe you spoke about Jerusalem 2000. Was it 2020? All right. Go ahead. You have the floor, Madam. The first panel. No, Mr. Arad, the first panelist.
دعني بداية أن أشكر البروفيسور بابكر وأشكر أيضا كل
First of all, I would like to thank Professor Babakar, and I would like to thank all the speakers, the Senegalese speakers. I can tell you that Africa is at the heart of Jerusalem. We are proud to have an African community in the heart of the city of Jerusalem, near one of the gates of the mosque. Of the Holy Mosque. And I can also tell you that there is a young African man from Palestine who was jailed, and he's speaking nowadays on behalf of all the inhabitants of the old city of Jerusalem. This is a positive approach. It shows that the relationship is very strong. One of the speakers referred to it. She talked about a marriage of love and reason between Palestinian and African peoples. I come from the same city as Said Abbasi, the former ambassador, who is buried on this land, on this land of Senegal. So we can do more. I am not just against the 2020 vision or project. I think that we have to work side by side. We have to work together with the civil society. In Jerusalem, there are some organizations representing women, representing African culture, some groupings that aim at improving health services. You are all called upon to hand over your hand to those associations for to have a cultural exchange for the sake of continuity. This is what is going to bear fruit. As the professor, the Arabic professor said, the door is wide open right in front of you with Al-Quds. You are welcome to go and study at the University of Jerusalem. You are most welcome to go and give lectures or study. The children of Senegal can go and work in our hospitals. Everything can be done through very easy procedures, and all those who can have the opportunity to go and work in Palestine. Now, very briefly, I can tell you that the child, the Palestinian child, rose against the oppression in a situation of despair. There is a 13-year-old Palestinian boy. Now, this has been seen on a video screen. It has been seen through the net. A 13-year-old Palestinian child who was raising against a powerful occupation force. Everything can be done if you have the willingness to move forward. We are all in favor of the territories which are holy for the Christians as well as for the Muslims. Men and women, like that woman who is against this historic and geographical division of the Holy Mosque. When you have the will, you can do it. Now, when there is no time for more meetings, I invite you to come to Jerusalem to speak a bit more in details, and we will open our arms to welcome you if you are ready to join us.
Full comments. Just few comments. I agree 100% with you on the importance of taking actions on the ground, and that's why it's very important to keep putting pressure on governments and the international community and hold them accountable. The BDS here is one of the main tactics to actually have an impact on the ground and have a result. But we should also remember that it's a tactic, so it's the means means, it's not the end. And why it's important is that it's, besides the fact that it's our moral obligation to boycott Israeli products, and here we're talking about all Israeli products, not only products produced in Israeli settlements. It also increases the cost of the Israeli occupation and besieges Israel, and it's also a means of protectionism. It helps protect Palestinian products, and this would increase their competitiveness and help the Palestinian economy build its productive capacity. A very important also point on the way we define what is happening on the ground. 100% it's not a religious conflict, it's a political it's a political one, and this is why it's very important to have a media strategy to counter Israel's depoliticized and dehistoricized representations of what's happening on the ground. And we should keep reminding the international community that what is happening is not actually a conflict. It's an occupier against an occupied. It's a settler colonial regime, not only occupation. The question on the question of education is very, very important. You mentioned a few of you, Paulo Freire, and he one of his favorite quotes for me is that the way he defined education can either function as an instrument to facilitate the integration of the younger generation into the current system, or education can be a practice of freedom. And this is what we should do. How can we actually use education as a practice of freedom? And you know, putting aside Israeli restrictions on and obstacles on education development, it's also important to note that Palestinian teachers went on strike for more than 3 weeks in the West Bank because they have very low salaries, and raising teachers' salaries is a very important a step that should be taken. Just to answer your question on the Jerusalem 2020 and 2050. So basically these are different plans. The Jerusalem 2050 is a private initiative. The Jerusalem 2020, it's more of a public initiative by the municipality, but they all work within the same framework, how to use development as a tool to ensure Jewish control over Jerusalem. A common point is that they both aim to build Jerusalem as a leading touristic city, but the Jerusalem 2020 focuses on urban planning and how they can constrain Palestinians' urban expansion, while the 2050 focuses on the tourism sector, how to increase private investment, build rooftop gardens, build an airport between Jerusalem and Jericho, transform the areas surrounding the old city into hotels while prohibiting the use of vehicles, etc. But at the end, they all aim to Judaize Jerusalem. Thank you.
Merci bien. Thank you very much. I'll now give the floor to Mrs. Shaheen.
Sorry. Thank you. Like, I know we're running out of time, but like, allow me please to express my really thanks. I was really touched by all your comments, and I'm speaking here as a Palestinian woman before speaking as a representative of UN Habitats here. So thank you for your support. Like, the Palestinian needs your help, and any small support, even by whether through boycotting Israeli products or even by coming and just visiting Jerusalem, it makes a difference. So I would join Ahmad's call to invite you and to come to Palestine and support the Palestinian people, even just by coming there. So thank you very much for your hospitality and for being here with us today.
Merci, Madame Shaheen. Thank you, Mrs. Shaheen. I will now give the floor to Mr. Ekibaji.
Thank you very much. We have one of the African Pan-Africanists called Kwame Nkrumah, one of the founding fathers of the African. And one of his arguments is that he said, African, stop agonizing and begin to organize. And I think this is the way forward. And that remains one of our principles. Let's continue to organize like this. let's think more of strategies on how to organize more on the issue of Palestine. The second thing is that, yes, Africa, we will continue to work by utilizing one of our core cardinal principles, which is negotiation and dialogue. Let us continue to utilize negotiation and dialogue. Don't let us use confrontation. Confrontation can be very dangerous. We have seen that in experience in South Sudan, and that is the reason why we believe that a lasting solution is very important. And finally, the utilization of horizontal and vertical measures. When the government and intergovernmental institutions continue to use a horizontal, the civil society organization should continue to use a vertical measures in organizing and doing other rally. The final thing I wanted to do is that advocacy, we should continue on the issues of Palestine, and our target should be policymakers. I can see the presentation by the Israelites yesterday, and I see the relationship between the man and also the Palestine. You see, we are not the problem. The people are not the problem. The policymakers, the political manipulators are the one that we should target. And I think this is what we need to do more to restore peace and justice in the land of Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kubaji.
Thank you, Mr. Kubaji. Professor Joe, you will have the last word for my make an announcement. Mr. Chairman, what I have noted, I have taken note of all the interesting debate on the question of multiple identities, and the Dr. Chouf was right to talk about the history of Africa, but if you go to Istanbul, you will have the same thing. You will have an African presence, which has been there for a long time. If you go to India, well, in brief, Africa and the rest of the world, Africa and humanity is an important debate, and I have pointed to the work done by Cheikh Anta Diop, this last book, Civilization and Barbarism, and his exchange with Russian scientists, Japanese scientists on human beings, with the human, on mankind, the origin, etc. So you cannot have the debate, whether you are Jew, Arabic, or Palestinian. The blood that you have in your veins, now when you are sick, now these are debates that we should have. This will open up the minds of people. They will not feel superior. Second thing, on the legal plane, on the political or religious planes, what is important as far as I am concerned is to respect each other. All the elements are there on the table. The religions are all the same. Muslims said, "Lakum dinukum waliya dina." Well, in brief, what Mrs. Mada Ange called ecumenism, all those, everything that rises converge. People who believe in their religions, when they be discussing among themselves, they would find an agreement ground. Now, on the organization front, I agree. Unity must be constructed, organized, but you must discuss tactics, because be it in the US, be it in the Soviet Union, in Poland, everywhere, wherever you have Jews and Muslims, things are a bit difficult. So you have to discuss with those who want to move forward. What is important is that in Senegal, at one point, people made a step forward, because they were saying if each Muslim poured boiling water over the state of Israel, Israel would disappear. Today, that is not the debate that we are having. On the Israeli side, people should accept for there to be a debate, and we need to discuss. That is true. Now, I will conclude with the proposal. I think it is a good proposal that we meet with the ambassador of Palestine for the follow-up to make recommendations. I think it is a good proposal. I think that Ambassador Fode is also here, so I thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Now, give a round of applause to all the panel, members of this panel sitting at the high table. So we're now going directly to have lunch. It will be at the Salon Vert, where we had the reception last night, and we'll resume again at 3 o'clock, and it will be Ambassador Wilfred from Namibia who will be chairing this afternoon's plenary. Thank you.